You are surrounded by a constant barrage of noise. Between social media algorithms, cultural trends, and the expectations of your parents and friends, it is incredibly easy to lose touch with the core of who you actually are. Humans are social animals. We face intense biological pressure to fit into a group, to dress like everybody else, consume the exact same media, and adopt the exact same values to avoid the risk of standing out. As you hit your 30s, the energy of youth that once made conforming feel easy begins to fade. If you haven't identified who you are, you risk finding yourself in total alienation. Without an internal anchor, your ability to generate power dissolves. You become a shapeless entity, incapable of pushing back against the world because you have no core identity to defend. To gain any real influence, you have to cut out that external noise. You have to actively defy the instinct to blend in and start a deliberate search for the specific things that make you different. Finding your distinctiveness is a process of internal archaeology, digging through years of social expectations to unearth the original, raw materials of your personality. You are looking for the unfiltered interests you held between the ages of 2 and 5. You're searching for the things that excited you in a way that was almost irresistible, long before you were taught what was considered cool. These signals often present themselves as minor, peculiar oddities. They are the strange quirks in how you prefer to dress, the weird music you love, or the bizarre topics you find yourself obsessing over in private. We are taught to hide these eccentricities to fit in, but in reality, those specific quirks are the foundational building blocks you need to construct a genuine competitive advantage. The second you attempt to bring a unique vision into the real world, the marketplace will try to sanitize it. Institutions naturally want to package your distinctiveness into something safe and familiar. Take the author Robert Greene. When he first drafted his book, The 48 Laws of Power, the manuscript reflected his own complex mind. It was a hodgepodge filled with massive margins, scattered quotes, and stories broken up in highly unusual ways. The publishers liked the content, but the layout terrified them. They heavily pressured Greene to strip out the weird sections and format the book like every other standard low-risk release on the shelf. Greene refused to compromise. He viewed the odd layout as an unchangeable reflection of his own voice, telling the publishers they could either take it exactly as it was or leave it. Because the book looked entirely different from anything else in the store, it immediately stood out to readers. That refusal to blend in is what drove its massive commercial success. The marketplace ultimately rewards differentiation. This means that the courage to stand out and risk being mocked is actually a rational strategy for success. But distinctiveness alone is not a weapon. If you face zero resistance, your skills will never evolve. You require external friction to forge your weirdness into power. Muhammad Ali recognized that he needed Joe Frazier. He understood that without a nemesis to push against, he would never have reached the level of performance that defined his career. Consider 50 Cent. Right before his first album was scheduled to launch, he was shot, and his record label immediately dropped him. He went from a potential star to a complete outcast with no corporate backing. This forced him to build a street-level distribution network, selling mixtapes by hand across New York. He learned to survive without the permission of traditional gatekeepers. Facing this total collapse early on gave him a perspective that many who succeed instantly never develop. By the time he found massive success again, he had the discipline to ensure he wasn't just a one-hit wonder. The people who doubt you and the harsh circumstances you face are not obstacles. They are the mechanisms that forge your capacity to execute at a higher level. There is a direct choice in how you move through life. You can either mimic the daily behavior of the crowd, or you can aim for outlier results. You cannot choose the first and expect the second. It is tempting to look at the world and become a cynic, but dismissing the world as rotten is just a way to avoid the vulnerability of trying. Cynicism reduces everything to a single, boring level and causes you to miss the reality of how rich and weird life actually is. This is why the archaeological search for your childhood interests matters. The ability to keep questioning like a child prevents you from taking the world for granted. It keeps your mind agile and open to the mysteries that cynics ignore. The goal of this process is not a fixed monetary target. It is the lifelong adventure of becoming exactly who you are and realizing the unique task you were destined to create.